Hey guys, Quint Crazy here, and it's now time for the August Q&A. I thank all of you who gave questions to me. In fact, you know who you are, and if you didn't, well, again, you missed out on a good incentive because not only do you get your questions answered in this video, or a similar video happening later on, of course, because there are going to be more, you'll also get your name and your channel put in that description box. Because, guys, I only got 10 questions this time. I put the question and answer moderator up early so people could actually give me questions. And I didn't get too many, but I'm happy with what I got because it did take me a while to think. So, let's get on with this thing, shall we? First up, Habashme. God damn it, you put in such good questions this time around. If Cena turned heel, which big storyline would you involve him in and how long would it last? And, in your better words, what would happen? Now, I think WWE dropped a ball with this storyline regarding Punk and Nash because I would have done it slightly differently. Okay, I would have at first started off with basically Cena basically getting screwed, and I think before this, the idea of him building up in his mind that he's being told to be this happy guy who wants to inspire people, but inside he's turmoiling inside. He's not really liking to be that way. And for the most part, if he gets screwed by the management, even after doing what they told him to do, then that gives him legitimate reason, time after time, if it does happen, to snap. Go around kicking the shit out of just about everybody in and out of the ring. And I thought to myself, he'd go on the mic, proclaim to everybody, look, I am the best. I don't need management to tell me what to do to get to be fans of you people. I don't need to tell kids how to inspire themselves because they have other means. And he basically becomes extremely bitter and egotistical. And the internet fans love him for it, basically. But then again, you think about it, what would happen? He'd be in the ring doing the same thing he does now, but with more ferocity. He'd be able to put on a good wrestling match and dominate it, people, doing the Super Cena routine, but it wouldn't seem so corny and stupid. Therefore, we'd all be happy on that front, wouldn't we? And I think it would last quite a while, because then you'd have Triple H getting in people to beat Cena. I think if this started around SummerSlam time, it would work out quite well. And also, after all those people failed, imagine some young mid-carder wins the Royal Rumble. He has enough potential and power to take out John Cena at WrestleMania. And he'd be able to not only be put over massively by winning the title, but by beating John Cena at WrestleMania. A heel Cena at that. So you think about it, could be possible. Because we've never seen a heel Cena one-on-one at WrestleMania. Of course, he was with B Squared rapping at WrestleMania 19, but that's it. So I would love to see if WWE did a heel Cena, they did something like that. It would be great, I think. Commentary Jordan 90. This was, I think, one of the first questions I got from him, of course. Would you turn Sheamus face in the future? SmackDown needs more faces. I think Sheamus could do a good job. Now, of course, this was posted ages ago, way before Sheamus did turn face. And I have to admit, Sheamus are doing a great job. There's a simple reason for this. Sheamus, you not only have actually got to improve your mic work significantly as a face, you've actually, to be honest with you, made yourself really quite popular just based on your presence. And the one thing I will say, though, despite my hatred of this Irish folktale insults that you keep putting on people, you are a good face. I mean, obviously, I don't like it because I prefer you as a heel. You are a heel by denominator. Look at your insulting mic skills, your body, and your moveset. It boasts monster heel. It boasts it continuously, and I think Sheamus as a face, to me, started out as a bad idea, but now I think it is actually an okay thing. I'm not entirely satisfied with it because he has always been pictured as a heel to me, but he's doing a good job. I want to see what happens from here on. Could be interesting. And the other question, Commentary Jordan, was on the other turn of the end. Who would you turn face on Raw? Because you said here that I can't look past Punk and Cena as faces, although Riley is working his way up. Riley is working his way up, but unfortunately for him, his charisma on the mic does not translate to charisma in the ring. He's a bit slow. You can tell he's a bit green as well. And predominantly, for the most part, he is. I don't know. I don't think he's worthy of being a face in a big face or even a small face just yet, because he does. He's only his music gets him cheers, and everything else is just like fell on deaf ears. Because who else on Raw is technically able to be turning face? All the heels, like R-Truth, like Miz, like Swagger, like Ziggler, are predominantly heels because they generally are best at being heels. Turning Miz face would be a bad idea, and many people think it would be a good idea, but just his character wouldn't work, I don't think. And who else could you turn face? I'm sure a shortage of faces on Raw. Mysterio and Big Show are injured. Who else is there to fill the void? That's why there's this idea of lack of faces has come up. But I mean, seriously, the amount of heels they've got on Raw, it's definitely needed. But the only person I can think of is when Skip Sheffield comes back, turn him face, because apparently he's got a very good eye for charisma for it. And I think, actually, he could be a good face guy. McMahon certainly seems to think so, but whatever he does isn't normally the best in the brain, is it? I don't know. I don't know who I would turn face apart from Sheffield. It's quite a difficult question to put down because there aren't actually many people on Raw who could actually be a face anyway. So yeah, not very good, I tell you. F my life for lulz. Weird ass name there. Don't know how the hell you came up with that. Funny though, to say the least. Your first question. How do you feel about the WWE completely de-pushing Drew McIntyre? Back when he was on SmackDown, he was one of the top heels and appeared in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber. But since being drafted to Raw, he hasn't made the impact he should have, in my opinion. Well, I said this about Drew on my last Q&A, that he hasn't got the charisma to go over, mic work-wise, as a big guy. But the difference was for Raw. The de-pushing of McIntyre was on SmackDown. He at least had a place, because on SmackDown, heels aren't as hard-hitting or in your face as they are the ones on Raw. So you can officially get your head over the rest of them if you've got a cutting-edge gimmick to him. When McIntyre was feuding with Teddy Long and Kofi Kingston, I thoroughly enjoyed that because it was something great to see. But in the ring, he's a great guy, but on the mic, he's a bit shit. But I mean, if you've gone to Raw where your mid-card and lower upper card and mid-card and even undercard are full of guys who are great in the ring but are shit on the mic. Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston are two examples of that. Fantastic in ring. I can also say that for the same for Jack Swagger. You can actually, Riley is shit on the ring, but you know what I mean. These guys are actually good in-ring people but have the same problem. And they're all on the same show, so Raw's undercard is extremely, really barren. And also, actually, same goes for their main event scene. So, look at SmackDown. Their main event scene is crap, right? But their undercard, their mid-card is really fruitful. A lot of good people in there who would well deserve to be in the main event scene at some point. Wade Barrett being one example. But still. I mean, I think if Drew is being de-pushed for the right reasons, he hasn't got all that it takes. I loved the aggression he displayed in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber. That was one of my big selling points of that match, because it showed Drew as not just being a Scottish guy who comes in, does a double arm DDT and walks out of there. He's got personality. Too bad he doesn't get much of a time to actually put that out there. So, hope that answers your question. Erla92 says, which four wrestlers will be in your dream match and why? And you gave me some specific criteria for this. That 2 must be from the Attitude Era and 2 from the PG Era. Cool, let's go on with this. The first 2 from the Attitude Era, I don't know if you meant from 1998 till 2002. I have a legitimate reason of sticking Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle in the same match. Any reason why? Well, you know why. Fucking great wrestling. And if I was going to do anything, I'd probably remove Angle and then put Stone Cold in there if needed, because Stone Cold could sell a good match and could wrestle a good one too. Brawling style with submission style works out well. The other 2 from the PG era, same idealistic notion applies. Daniel Bryan, submission wrestler, would love it. And he's also a slight high flyer as well, so it could work. Then you've got CM Punk, who is a brawler, submission wrestler, high flyer, all rolled into one. So if you think about it, a fatal 4-way, And also, actually, Fatal 4-Way wise, they've all got submission moves. Dan O'Brien, the LeBell Lock / Cattle Mutilation, Benoit Crossface, and then, of course, you've got CM Punk with the Anaconda Device. What would Stone Cold Steve Austin contribute to this? Many of you are probably asking yourself right now if I did include him. Well, he did use the $1 Million Dream / Cobra Clutch when under the tutelage of $1 Million Man as the ringmaster in 1995/6. So, think about it. It's obvious to know you do your research, but it's a good thing. I think it would have been a great match. Benoit, Austin, Bryan, Punk. That would be, if that had ever turned up on a pay-per-view, I'd go, bye, bye, bye! I'd just do that really, really, really well. It would go really well with the people, because they love it. The casual fans love it because of Austin and Benoit. Wrestling fans, Benoit, Punk, and Bryan in one match, they'd be all for it. It's great, isn't it? Mr. 8277546 says, what do you think is the most worst, bad English, or inappropriate gimmick during the Attitude Era? You think it was the Patriot, and I did have a look at the Patriot. I thought, whoa, that's a shit idea. A masked guy being an American Patriot, yeah, waving the flag. Didn't really speak much, and he had Kurt Angle's theme song. I can see your point. This may seem a bit wrong of me, but I always look at the worst gimmick idea. Started off before the Attitude Era, but got big during it. Was the Divas. You know, I'm not a fan of the Divas, but it all started here because in the early 90s, it was all about wrestling appeal for the Divas. Alundra Blazer, Wendy Richter, Fabulous Moolah, even Mae Young when she could. All these people, actually, when Mae Young was wrestling, it was way long ago. But you look at all these other people who come up over the time. And the Divas from the 80s to the 50s to the 80s to the 90s, no sex appeal was needed. And then, of course, Sunny came into the picture. Not as a diva, not as a wrestler, but as a manager. That changed everything. Say, every diva coming up from then not only had to have the wrestling ability, but also the looks. It wasn't a gimmick, but it was kind of, what's it called? A movement, so to speak. And I've never been a fan of that. It's like how it went from the big guys in the McMahon Senior's time to the smaller guys now, who are more realistic. That same kind of thing where the Divas now have to have more sex appeal for the male viewers than it would be for the wrestling ideas, the wrestling purists like myself. I, of course, am not sold on sex appeal, because that doesn't mean two shits to me, as you all should know by now. Because it's wrestling appeal that concerns me, and I only want to see women wrestling if they actually can. That's why Trish and Lita, along with Jacqueline, Molly Holly, and Chyna, Sable, all those people, around that little time between the 2000s, in the early 2000s, actually, and Victoria as well, were a great period, because you had women who were actually quite good looking, had great wrestling bits to them. And so I feel it, because it's foreshadowed what most divas are today. You get a few good divas on WWE programming, which are Beth Phoenix, Natalya, and then of course Melina, who was released along with Mickie James. Michelle McCool is now at home with her family, possibly retired from wrestling, and it's a bit sad because it's the worst gimmick / movement, because the women's division and women's wrestling as a whole has been not just demoralised, but also thrown into the gutter to a place where it can never return. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why it's the worst thing that came out of the Attitude Era, and it's the worst gimmick / movement to ever happen in the last 30 years of professional wrestling, because you can see the consequences now on WWE television. You don't get one-on-one good wrestling matches that last a good 9, maybe 5 to 10 minutes long. It's usually under 2 or 3 minutes, involving a 6 diva tag match. That's not good. And so, therefore, it is the worst thing to come out of the Attitude Era. The change from women wrestlers to eye candy. I'll go on more about the women's division in my 15 minutes of fame video next week. And guys, I'm going to stop there for part 1. Again, I have to go to a second part to talk about this stuff. But nonetheless, hope you're here for it. Part 2 will be coming up as soon as it can. See ya!